Hello everybody and God bless. So a little background. I posted a video about Satan's plan for children. And in that video I talk about how when I was younger I was dealt with trauma from other people outside of like my mom. So like my grandparents, uncles, aunties, cousins, daycares, even when I went to school. I just dealt with different traumas in different areas. And so after learning about how being traumatized as a child, how it can affect your adulthood and your connection with God if you don't get past those traumas, I was like, okay, now I'm recognizing this. And I used to say all the time, and I'm not sure if I posted this in my testimony video or not, but I would ask God so much, like, God, can you just let me forget? I do not really remember my past at all. I just want to forget everything, every single thing that happened. I wanted to forget it. And so now learning about traumas and learning that with confession comes deliverance, I can't confess things I can't remember. So I asked God to start bringing things to my remembrance that were trauma that I needed to confess and get past. And so over the past couple of weeks, he's been doing that and things have been coming back to my remembrance. And or like either like I'll just literally remember something or something would happen that would make me feel traumatized. Then I would recognize, okay, I feel traumatized, so therefore something happened in my life. Like I used to be terrified of spiders and stuff because something traumatic happened to me when I was a kid, and I completely I forgot. And so this huge spider like entered into the room, and I literally started hyperventilating and breathing so hard I started crying, like it was that bad. And I couldn't. I was just freaking. My mom had to come in and kill it. I was literally standing in one spot. And then I went to sit down and I started crying again. And at this point I was crying not because of the fear of the spider, but because I recognized there's a trauma there. And I was so upset with myself because I was like, this spider, like it wasn't even that big, honestly, because I've held a tarantula in my hand before, okay? Tarantulas are so sweet, and so that's the one spider I love tarantulas. But every other spider, I was like, oh no. I was sitting there and I was just dealing with that. And then I asked God to bring to my remembrance what happened, where it came from, and how to get past it. And so I was able to get past it. And I think it was because I blamed someone in my life over it for so long, and then I had to remember who actually was the reason why I was put in that situation. And it turned out it was my grandma. And so I had to really remember all that. I visually was seeing it, and I remember seeing my grandma sitting there, and all my life I could not remember my grandma sitting there and her being the reason why I was put in this situation with these spiders that caused that trauma in my life. So I had to confess that, get over it, and ask God to, break it from me and just forgive and say, I was perfectly fine. And then on top of that, I've held a live tarantula in my hand, and I was okay. And it was literally the best experience. It was really awesome. And so just focusing on that good really helped me get past that. And just other traumas in my life, just literally just remembering them, confessing them, and getting past it. I didn't have to go through a huge remembrance like that one. I really had to remember my grandma was sitting there, it was her fault and all that stuff. But there was other traumas that happened in my life that I was just like, okay, this happened, I'm over it, whatever. And so I was sitting down and I was in prayer, and I was praying to God, and I said, God, I feel like I'm free. I feel like I feel giddy, all giggly, or I can't remember the word, but I was like, I feel great. And I think it was the night before, I was looking at my daughter, and she had this joy of a child. And Charity, she's been raised in an environment, a Christian environment, nobody's cussing or smoking like that. She's been raised in a very good environment, and everywhere I take her, everybody's like, she is the happiest 2-year-old. She's about to be 3 and on the 15th, but she is the happiest 2-year-old. I've ever seen. Out of all the children I see, wow, she's so happy. I'll be on the phone with people. Are children normally that happy? Like, what? And I'm like, in her experience, it's because she's not traumatized. And I remember looking at her being like, I want that. I want that childlike faith that she has, to know like I'm okay, like I'm good, like there's times like I'll literally just leave her in the room by herself to go to bed, and there's no fear in that girl. And you know, people are like, you know, I have to have a nightlight on and I'm terrified to fall asleep by myself. She's not like that. She's so free, so free. And so I was just like, I want that, okay? And so I think it was that morning, or that next day, because that was nighttime, and so it would have been like the next day. And I was sitting there in prayer, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, God, I feel like I'm free. Am I free? I really want that childlike faith. And then I had a vision, and I was sitting there in prayer, and I had a vision of this child's hand, and I knew it was a child's hand, and I knew it was my hand, this little like stubby child hand coming out of me, reaching for this light. And I had a knowing that the light represented Jesus, and it was confirming that I do have this childlike faith. And it just feels so great. And to confirm it for me, like, I was praying with a friend of mine on Saturday, and as soon as we started praying, I just felt this joy that, you know, I've prayed so much, I've been praying for years, right? But this time I felt this joy, and every single time I think about Jesus, I feel this joy, right? I can't doubt him, because as a child, when you have childlike faith, and I'm in the process of studying faith right now, and what I've just been reading about is people, and if you want to read it on your own, the best examples that I've seen so far is Hebrews 11. And these people had this faith that was like, I'm not doubting God at all. And so I think the best way to explain faith, because you're supposed to have childlike faith, right? If you look at a child that hasn't been traumatized, that hasn't, you know, dealt with any doubts or anything like that in their life, if you ask a kid, hey, I want you to write a list of things that you want for your birthday, right? They're probably going to ask for the most craziest things. Can I wake up in the morning and have fish-like feet so I can swim or something? I don't know. Can I fly? They're not going to think like, oh, well, you know, I'm asking for these things for when I get to heaven. No, they're gonna be like, I want this stuff right now, right? And then also, I was talking to a friend of mine about the rapture, and how like we should be joyful in the rapture coming in and the Sabbath day coming. And I was thinking about, like, think about a child. If their birthday literally just passed, a child that has like unbelievable faith and just like thinks crazily, I guess, will be like, is my birthday tomorrow? Or when's my birthday coming? Like they're already ready for the next birthday. You know what I mean? And that's how we should be when it comes to the rapture, when it comes to the shift change, when it comes to things about Jesus and him coming back. It's like, I don't care about this order or what happened in this person's life and this person's life. I have faith that God is going to help me, and God is going to show up. I don't care about all the logistics, because that's how children are. They're childlike faith. They don't sit there and like calculate things. You know what I mean? They're not doing that. They're just like, I just want it to happen. I don't care. Like, if you don't believe, I believe. You know what I mean? And it's just so great. So I really hope, I don't know how to explain it, because this new generation, like, they don't have that. These children nowadays, that you look at these kids, a lot of them, it's hard to find that example. It really is. So I'm really thinking maybe look up like an old time movie with kids involved and see how the children react in like an old time movie. Or oh goodness, I'm thinking about that guy George. I think he was an orphan dude. I only looked into his story like one time, but I've heard of his story like on Torchlight. I've heard of his story on, I think VeggieTales did one, and then also I've heard of it on Adventures in Odyssey. And all three stories are just wrapped around this man's faith. He was like, I don't know how we about to get this milk, but we gonna get it. And they got it. I don't know how we gonna get this bread, but we gonna get it. And that's what it's like, okay? So, example, if I said, God, please let me fly, okay? And I just posted on my community post about how we're supposed to ask for things, right? But at the end of the day, we also want God's will to be done. So an example of how I would phrase this prayer of I want to fly, and how do I put my faith in it, but also talk about God's will. This is how it's gonna be. God, by your will, I pray it is your will. Please let me fly. I cannot wait to be able to fly according to your will, Lord Jesus. I believe it'll happen. I believe in your works, God. You know, you said that by the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So allowing me to fly right here, right now, it's like a pebble. It's like a grain of salt, grain of dirt compared to the mountains you can move. I have faith. I have so much faith. You can allow me to fly. I pray for that in Jesus' name. And I pray by your will, let it be done. And, you know, I didn't doubt at all in that prayer, right? Because you got Christians who are like, oh God, you know, I hope it's your will. If it's your will, please, can I fly? But, you know, if it doesn't happen, you know, I can wait. I'll wait until the shift change. And, you know, if it's, you know, I'll wait. And I used to pray like that. And I remember I prayed like that one day. And my mom was like, don't you dare. She corrected me so quick. She said, do not. When you pray for stuff, you don't say, but if it doesn't but I'll wait. Like that. Like you, because eventually you're doubting that God can do it in your life right now. Like, God, oh, if you don't want to do this, because what they're saying is, in turn, we're doubting because we don't think that God has the mercy for us, or we don't think God is powerful enough, or we don't think that God looks down on the little people when there's so many different things going on. You've got people at war, you've got children dying, you got all this stuff. And there's Christians who doubt that God can't deliver them, but also visit me and allow me to fly. And so I really pray you guys are getting me. And then you got Christians now today that are not praying for God's will to be done. They're just saying, oh, but God, if you don't do this, because, you know, I don't think you will. But, you know, I'm still asking because, you know, your word says to ask, but I don't think you'll do it. But if you do, you know, thank you. But if you don't, it's fine. And it's like, why even say that? Why even say that? When you have childlike faith, a child doesn't think about it not happening, right? All right, so that's all I want to say, guys. God bless you all. Have a nice one.